everybody, it's Safi and Marco. Dish out on the movies. Here we are in January doing rankings. My least favorite task of all, but something millennials like my son like to do. And what he's already done apparently, because he's way ahead of me in this because he loves doing it. We are ranking the new movies that we saw last year.
I like doing it, but I don't like editing it because it's a pain. You have to get all the pictures for the different movies, and then you have to put a number on them, and then you have to listen to the video again just to put it's like a whole process.
And the terrible thing, and maybe it would have been like this every year, I kind of doubt it, but since I haven't really done this a lot because I don't care for it and I didn't feel a need to, the problem with this year's, or last year I should say, 2021 movies was that they're mediocre. And so when you get to where you have to figure out what's worse than the worst, that is really a pain. But unlike Marco, I did not see as many movies. I do not have the time to watch tons of movies, but it probably wouldn't have made a difference. It would have even made it worse, I think. And he probably did, or even now could attest to that, because you have more crappy movies to rank.
The hardest part was actually the good movies, because I did the video yesterday and it was a complete disaster. I ranked all these movies that I was like, God, I hate the fact that I have to say this bland, mediocre movie is number 5 and 4 and so on. So it was actually harder with the good ones, because with the bad ones I can just say, yeah, there's lots of bad movies.
Okay, well, let's see, now how do we do this? We want the worst of the worst last.
You want the dishonorable mentions first, though.
Well, I'm not doing that. I'll do that. I'll hook that like last time I hooked that.
No, don't do that.
Well, I can't. I don't know what to...
You can have as many as you want.
I guess I could. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, well...
As many as you want.
I'll just do one. No, I don't want to do any. Okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because
that's weird, so.
Anyway, the first movie I have on this list.
Number 10, you mean?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, this is hard because you're doing the bottom of I watched 32 new movies, and so I'm doing the bottom first. I'm kind of having to do the opposite because the one on the very lowest is the number 1, but it's really number 32. So I mean, it's really kind of difficult.
That's why what some people do is they'll make a whole list and then they'll make a separate list where it's just the top 10. And so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But the real problem is that on the site the order is backwards. So like usually, you want to have 10 first, but on the site 1 comes first. So it's harder to do the lists actually.
Okay, well, my number 10 on the worst of the new movies of 2021 is Zack Snyder's Justice League, the lengthy cut, not the finished version, but the director's cut, as they call it. And the reason why is and it's kind of surprising to me because I don't think you see this very often, especially from a man. That sounds weird. But, he just wanted to, it was almost like he felt he needed to explain every little thing that he did or every little plot deal, every detail, every little sentence or phrase. So it was way, way too long, and I just couldn't wait to stop watching it because I just couldn't stand it. I understand. Like, you'll think, why did the director do that? Why didn't they include this, or why did they include? We ask that stuff all the time. You probably get sick of hearing it, but this guy just included everything, and it was in badly need of an edit, a severe edit.
Well, what's funny is that a lot of the stuff he added actually made the characters worse. Like, and a lot of it was unnecessary. Like, why did we have to have that scene where there was that woman sniffing Aquaman's sweater? Remember that, Safi?
No, see, I don't remember that.
Like,
See, I was so sick
cares?
of watching. I don't have a lot of time, and it would be okay if you had had so many questions about the content that you were like, well, you want. Maybe even with that, I don't think anybody would want all of the detail. They would want the edit. You always hear this in cooking shows and design shows. They said you needed to edit.
Yeah.
You needed somebody to help you edit, meaning you have too many things going on in your outfit, or you have too many additions to your dish. And I've heard this. I mean, I hear this in everything that people do. Editing is a very important tool.
Well,
And if
Safi,
you're not able to do it yourself, you should have somebody else help you.
To be fair, you haven't seen the edited version that everyone says is like the quote worst thing ever. But honestly, it's a way better movie than the 4-hour version. But it's still not a good movie, and it's just because it's just all going to be trash if it comes from sacked Snyder.
Okay, well, I better move on. My number 9 is Don't Look Up. And maybe that might surprise people. I don't know, but it was just awful. And because I am a real political person. Mark always stops me. My other son stops me. I can't talk politics with either one of them, and the only person who would talk to me about them was my sister and mom, and they're both passed away. So anyway, it was very political, and I think almost it was based on what we just went through, and they injected it into the story, and I didn't care for it. And Meryl Streep played the president. She was like, I was shocked because she's so skinny. I think she lost a lot of weight, and I thought she looked terrible. And yeah, she is a good actress, and she played this just stupid, idiotic. She was playing a president. And I won't say anything more about that, but I mean, she was just being idiotic, and her sidekick, her aide, or closest aide, or whatever, Jonah Hill?
Remember, that's
Is
supposed.
that his name?
Remember, that's that's also supposed to be her son in the film.
It is?
Yeah, he's her chief of staff.
Oh, Lord.
They made a joke about it. I guess you weren't paying attention, though.
I guess what flew by my brain. But anyway, they have a meteor coming towards the Earth, and they just acted like it was a big joke, and they made it into that. They fired all their scientists. Sound familiar? And this is like worst case scenario of an administration. Like, we're kind of familiar with bad, but this was like the worst. And here we are. They do something stupid, and they have a quote scientist who's kind of like harebrained. In other words, he's one of those ivory tower scientists who has all these great ideas, or brilliant, but it's kind of like the person who needed the edit. They need an edit, and he.
No, Jennifer
one.
Lawrence needed an edit too, because she was an annoying whore the whole movie.
Well, you have that too. She was a up and coming scientist.
She's the reason why people don't like scientists anymore.
Well, that's still stupid. Science is extremely important, especially
It's not
to
as
understand a meteor coming towards the Earth.
It's not as important as the truth. Remember, Safi?
Yeah.
That's what Mulder would say.
Well, and that's exactly in this movie too. And you have to balance the two. That's the thing. Scientists can get full of themselves.
Yeah.
I know. I've been around them.
That's what this movie really demonstrates as well.
That's the ivory tower syndrome, and I've seen it over and over again. It's really annoying, believe me. And but we're not going to go into that. The thing I didn't care for it at all. I thought it was just really in your face. And I like politics, but this was really bad. It was the only reason why I didn't put it down lower is because I had all those stars, and well, I'm not going to say I don't like Jennifer Lawrence. Sorry, I don't care for her.
Safi, it's almost like the boomer who made this movie. It's almost like the boomer who made this movie watched Dr. Strangelove, which is a masterpiece. He watched that movie and he said, "You know what Dr. Strangelove really needs? Political agendas."
Yeah, I'm all for politics. It can be a lot of fun, but when you're talking about something as serious as the whole world being blown up, I mean, look what happened to dinosaurs. If anybody wants to pay attention to that, that was because of they think a meteor. And I don't want to go into that. But anyway, it just wasn't a very good movie, and I didn't care for it. Okay, next one is, let's see, that was 10, 9, 8. Number 8 is Fanboy, or 13 Fanboy. And I guess it was okay. In fact, it was better. I guess I gave it a bowl of chili, according to what Marco played for me in our video reviews. And it was okay. It was the 13 refers to the Friday the 13th movies and the stars in them and about killing them off. And the thing, I guess I got really pissed off though, because what they did was they left somebody behind. In other words, somebody was trapped, one of the victims or the future victims, because the person was going to come back and get them, I guess. Well, they got killed or something, and then so the victim, their supposed next victim, is trapped somewhere. Nobody knows where the person is or anything, and so
they weren't going to kill her. They had it in the movie where they showed that online on her social media, she revealed to her fans that her greatest fear would be dying all alone.
She is going to die all alone.
Well, and so they weren't going to come back and kill her. They just were going to leave her there, and we don't get to see anything about what happens.
And that's ridiculous. That is a flaw of the major kind. And I almost feel like it should have been in last place just because of that. That to me, that's like egregious.
Safi, they've done that in the Friday the 13th movies before, believe it or not.
I haven't watched any. I've watched one, maybe.
They did that in the second one because, and let me explain. In the second one, they had these two characters, and it's a guy and a girl, and the girl gets rushed to the hospital, and we see that. But then we never find out what happens to her boyfriend. And that's because they were going to make a third one that was ripping off Halloween 2, where she would be in the hospital, and then he would come to the hospital to save her while Jason was trying to kill her in the hospital. But then they made a different third one, and they just didn't even show what happened to the boyfriend.
God. So, I do not agree with that kind of filmmaking at all.
Either.
Because to me, it's almost like juvenile and stupid and inexcusable. Okay, so no more of that, but that would have been, like I said, these films are so bad that it's like, what's worse than this? some others.
There's worse movies.
Okay, my next one, which is
Number 7.
7, is Coming to America 2.
It's coming to America. Get it?
Number 2.
Yeah.
And I had never seen any of these movies. I have lived in Africa. I have lived in East Africa, in Tanzania, in a village, with a family. And these movies about Africa piss me off because they're so unrealistic, and just the fact that they had a woman, these women and these important, even that other thing, Black Panther. There was things I liked about that a lot, but the thing about the females, I mean, we interviewed somebody who said it's all what did they say? Something like the man. I can't remember what they say. It was so erroneous about men, females and babies and men, and also prostitutes, and they're so sexist. And it's not. I mean, you really, when I say that, it's cultural. In other words, it's not sexist to them because they don't live in that kind of world and that kind of mindset, but it is to me because I do live in a mindset world like that.
And this movie,
so, but they bring this. It's just so unrealistic and
very
stupid and loud.
Americanized.
Yes, it's very Americanized, and it's like eating Americanized Chinese food.
Yeah.
Which we unfortunately have to deal with here.
It's sad because I was looking forward to that. I had that in my top 10 anticipated movies of the year because I thought, you could have, the first one was a really positive and funny movie, and so I thought, well, how could you screw up making another one? Like, literally all you have to do is make people laugh.
Well, and the thing is, I like Eddie Murphy. I'd love to see him in some of these children's movies.
You mean like
Dr.
Dolomite?
Dolittle.
Dr. Dolomite.
No, that thing is a piece of trash. Anyway, I don't like this, and I really hate this because there aren't very many people who've actually been able to live in Africa, anywhere in Africa. They're not, all of Africa is not the same. You'd have different countries, different cultures, different languages off the wazoo, coastal, inner, and within the country, north, south. It's just like the United States. The East is not the South. You know what I mean? And this is just, this kind of enforces or encourages stereotypes. And I don't like that because it's bullshit. Okay, I got to move on. All right.
Number 6.
So number 6 is Mortal Kombat. Now, I saw the other Mortal Kombat a million years ago. In fact, I saw it maybe 2 or 3 times. It would have been strung out over the years, and that was a really good movie. It was very interesting, and this one was kind of like different movies. It was like 3 different movies, and after the first part, which I enjoyed, they had this really good Asian fighter, and maybe a couple of fighter, and they were just like supremo, really good. Sorry. And then after that, it was awful. And I'm sorry, it just was awful.
Do you know why? Do you know why they made it that way, Safi?
No.
Number 1, because, and this is what happened too, so they won. There were all these people who saw it, and they would see their favorite character and say, oh, look, that's my favorite character, so therefore the movie's really good. And then number 2, because they can now make spin-offs based on certain characters, and one of the spin-offs they're going to be doing is a Mortal Kombat movie with only women.
Okay, well, you know how that works. I'm sorry, I'm a woman. I'm from the 70s. We're the ones who invented all of this stuff. We started it all with women and all these quote people call them agendas, but these people have carried it so far. They're not entertaining. Okay, they're just not, because they make up stuff. They pretend, and it isn't real. It's better if it's naturally occurring to be believable. And you know what? People aren't going to go see them. It's just like
No.
that
Well-
female Ghostbusters. People, even though those, I enjoy those actresses. I've
I don't.
enjoyed them on Saturday Night Live. In the characters, and with a mixed cast, mixed meaning men and women and who knows who else, because they all worked as a team to make a good product. But it's just you can't do that. But that isn't what this one is about. They just it just was unenjoyable to watch, and it's almost like those good fighters at the very beginning, that it's just like, well, bye, glad to know you, but get off the screen. And people like to watch martial art movies because they do like to watch martial arts, and they like to see bad versus good, or evil versus good, or whatever. But the story was, it was disjointed. It was like different movies and different ideas, and it wasn't very well put together. Okay, my next one is 6.
No, your next one is 5, Safi.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Number 5!
All right, my next one is Fear Street.
Which one?
It's 1994, and that is the
Part 1.
first one. These movies, these Fear Street movies, they pissed me off. They were trash. And R.L. Stine, I guess he agreed to it. I don't know why. Maybe he didn't want to deal with it, but I've talked to him, and he likes having his books put on the screen. But I think that's when he had more of a hand in putting together what was being on the screen. He didn't have anything to do with this, and they're terrible. And this one was the first one. Oh, yeah, granted, the very beginning scene or two,
The opening scene.
with the mall, the murder in the mall, the telephone calls, and all that was really good. And then the rest of the movie is trash. I mean, it was. I could have easily put this at the very bottom, and there were 3 of them. And there's one that's worse than this one. There's one that's better than this one, and not by much. But sorry, that's my sports.
The second one is good, is better, because it doesn't really have those agendas that the other 2 movies have.
Yeah, that was the problem. You had this. It's like you had this basic story, and then they got these agendas. It's like they had a piece of fabric, and they had a beautiful piece, well, not a beautiful piece, but kind of like, let's say it's just a standard embroidery pattern, which means it was nice. Let's say it was flowers, just simply sewn flowers. And then they got this big dark thread, and then they sewed over it, like jagged, like V's all over the flowers. And it was just, and that like took over what was the basic story, and it was no good. It was horrible. And the Fear Street, I didn't read a lot of this. By the time both of my sons got to the point of that, you don't read to them anymore, because they're mainly for like older children who, or teenagers, maybe early teenagers.
You read
and by
one
that
of them.
time you don't. Yeah, I did read one of them because I wanted to see what they were like. And it was a little goofy, but it still was better than this.
Yeah.
Boy, way, way better than this.
I still remember what the plot she described, and it was a good plot, and it was about, like, what was it, like, about this girl who sleeps in a bed, and then she has these weird dreams, and people get killed, and then it turns out that this other girl escaped from a mental asylum and was sleeping with her in her bed or something.
Underneath the bed, I think.
Well,
Yeah, so
that's
that's
good.
pretty good.
Yeah.
That is pretty good.
But
And
but
this
with this
wasn't anything
movie,
like that at
what's this
all.
movie about, Safi?
I don't know what it's about. It's just
Lesbianism.
about these two girls who like each other, but that's all convoluted, and I'm not going to explain that because I know Marco already did. But that, what's so scary about that, really? This is called Fear Street, not let's have an after school special and talk about people of the same sex in high school or whatever liking each other and not wanting to be with the opposite sex. That's not what Fear Street's about. I mean, come on. This is supposed to be a scary story. It wasn't. It was stupid.
I guess it is scary for all the real fans of the material. It's scary for them to have seen their favorite series get raped on screen.
Well, it was just horrendous. Okay, my last four.
Number 4.
Okay, yeah. All right, is this brand new Home Alone movie, Home Sweet Home Alone. And I actually stopped watching this because I got so angry that this kid, because I thought that he had stolen this doll. And I thought how unbelievable this was because his mother was the one who pointed out the value of the doll. So when she came back from wherever she was to get him and she found out he took it, she was going to be really pissed off, but he acted like, oh, well, I took it and I don't care. I mean, they led you to believe that he took it because next to the last scene before they go off on this, he's got to protect his home. Like, oh, please. They had him look at it. He looked at the box. He had the strange look like he was going to take it. So, because his mom wouldn't get him McDonald's. And I'm like, oh, please.
You were about
really?
You were about to say, fuck you.
I'm like, and so she would know. She's the one who told the guy she saw the doll. And she had watched this show where they talk about antiques. And she had seen this and saw that it was worth, I don't know, $50,000 or something. And so she's the one who brought it up. The guy, the owner of the house, and his wife, they didn't even know about it. Or he didn't know about it. He just thought they were a bunch of stupid dolls that had belonged to his grandma or his mom. I can't remember. And so I thought, how could that boy do that just because his mother didn't take him to McDonald's? And then it wasn't his property, and he wouldn't give it. And I thought he wouldn't give it to the people. Well, I guess it turns out that he didn't take the doll. It got misplaced in the house. Which how could that happen? Because it was in a box. We saw it, and the way they could have done it, the people who lived there, they had some relatives come. They had this obnoxious little kid.
He's the one who finds it, Safi.
Well, he could have taken the doll and played with it, and that's why it was misplaced because it was in the box.
And I'll tell you this, he randomly finds it at the end of the movie. They're having this discussion with the kid, all the people together except for his own family, because they're actually going to take care of him for a few days after he basically tried to kill them, which, you know, but then, like, the little kid just pops up upstairs, and he's like, hey, look what I have! And then he throws the doll downstairs, and it's like, this is the worst. Like, there's not even any reason for him to throw the doll either, Safi. He literally tosses the doll downstairs to where it could break. For no reason.
Yeah, so I stopped watching it. Marco had to tell me what happened at the end. And I guess it did get saved a little bit because the two people that he practically killed with life-sized icicles, which would kill anybody, they took him in until his mom came. They took care of him until his mom came to get him. So, and it was Kimmy Schmidt, which I don't know if that's her real name, and then the guy who played her husband. And I like her. I liked them, but I did not like the boy at all. I thought he was obnoxious and spoiled and awful, and I don't like it. What they did was they got the tenets of the other stories and they put it in here as if he needed to protect the house. And they went way overboard. He had all this stuff. It was just stupid.
It was really
He wasn't
funny.
protecting his house. He was just being obnoxious. And that the fact that he had all the time, I mean, you're talking about elaborate traps.
I was glad
And-
that the movie was made because it resulted in Safi's best review. When I came downstairs and I literally just turned the camera on for 30 minutes without her knowing while she talked about how much she hated the movie. And then I just uploaded that as the review.
Well, it was, I don't like that I would stop watching it, but it pissed me off so much I couldn't bear it. Okay, I gotta keep going. My number 3 is the Amusement Park. And this was a movie by George Romero, and he's the one that did
Night of the Living Dead.
And this thing was kind of like something that you would show in an old folks' home. And we've seen it. We've seen what that's like. And it was very, he probably didn't expect it to be a movie that everybody saw. If he did, I don't think he had great expectations. Not like The Night of the Living Dead, not even close. It was just about this amusement park and old people, how they're mistreated. And I just remember people running around and acting goofy and laughing. And it's just stupid. It was just stupid. It was like Marco said that he made this as some kind of public service for older people or something.
Well,
It wasn't meant to be a big entertainment thing for people to watch. So that's why it's not very good, because it's not meant for that.
No, what
anyway.
happened is, and now the main actor from the film actually talks before and after the film about why it was made. There was some sort of an organization that helped old people or something, like old people who were poor and didn't have as much, and they hired George Romero to make a movie about old people's struggles, I guess. And then they thought that it was so scary that they never released it.
Which is silly, because it wasn't scary at all. It was just dumb.
It was laugh out loud hilarious. Like, there's this one part, since Safi won't remember, there's this one part where he buys some fucking crackers and peanut butter, and he's sitting on this bench, like, ushering for little kids to come over and eat with him. And then the parents, like, rush them away because they think he's a pedophile, and he just sits there like...
And that's actually pretty sad.
That's pretty funny.
Because he just wanted some company. But, okay, I'm going to move on. My number 2 movie, and I told you in this Fear Street series, there's 3. There's one that was worse than the other one. And if there wasn't something really bad that I put as number 1, I would have put this as number 1. And that's the Fear Street 1666. The year 1666 in Sunnyvale, California. Do you remember how many white people and African slaves there were in Sunnyvale, California in 1666? 0. You know why? Because nobody was living there. There weren't any settlers in Sunnyvale. It wasn't even Sunnyvale anyway. This is California. And it was in 1666. I don't know what year. I think it was the early, like 1632 or 1620 year. I've looked this up because our ancestors, the Brashears, some of them, they're the earliest ones to come over to the America from France. And they came in the 1600s. Slaves were brought to America in this early 1600s. I just can't remember the date. I looked it up once because I wanted to see when our ancestors came. They came after. And anyway, they hadn't even made it to the west side of the country yet. Nobody had. Not even white people. The only people who were there, and I don't know about Sunnyvale, but you probably had some coastal, and I don't know who they are. I just know the ones up in Washington, the ones who make those big wooden, they're carved and painted, and they're very interesting looking, and
What's funny,
totem poles.
What's funny is that they completely missed the chance for diversity because they could have had the movie star all Native Americans and be a Native American witch story.
With the tree.
Which is what I would have rather have done myself. But they couldn't do that because they had to have this dumbass story that they did with it's all based around lesbians.
They had African Americans who were free.
Yeah.
And they were coming to the United States, and it really wasn't the United States yet, but they were having people come to America, American colonies, as slaves at this time. So this is just utter bullshit. I couldn't stand it. It was just horrible.
The messaging was that since this is a California colony, it's more progressive than the other colonies.
And that's just asinine. There wasn't anybody. It wasn't even a California. It just pissed me off. It was just so stupid and not real. And how could they do that? And I mean, really, do people really think California was a colony with all that? They did have, the witchcraft stuff going on in Massachusetts, and Connecticut and those places, but not in California. They have anybody in California. There wasn't a colony in California. I could say something else, but I don't have the time. But anyway,
you do.
Well, I was just telling Marco, I've been selling Currier and Ives prints and all kinds of stuff. And one of the prints is 1845, and it shows a rendering of a California area. There's nothing there. And it says on the back, they were put out on a calendar by Travelers Insurance Company, which actually is still around, apparently. And they said, this was kind of like a made-up rendering of what they thought California might look like. Nobody been there. There wasn't anything there except maybe Native Americans. I'm just not sure of the Native Americans who lived in that area. I just know the ones up northern.
Just think about this, Safi. We could have gotten 2 Native American lesbians, and instead we had to have the ones we got.
Well, whatever. But it was just so unrealistic, and it just didn't follow any sense of reason. Okay, my final one, number 1. It's the biggest piece of trash on the planet, and that's Halloween Kills. And it really irritates me. Jamie Lee Curtis is right around my age. She was horribly, I don't know what it was, stabbed, shot. It didn't matter. She had terrible surgery, meaning she was really cut into and fixed up. And here she is, getting up from her bed and leading the charge against somebody. She didn't even know if it was Michael Myers in the hospital. She was leading a mob. And she'd just been under surgery for hours, and that just isn't, it's stupid. And the whole movie was stupid.
Why?
It shouldn't have been made. It was way overkill. It says Halloween Kills. That's right. It kills Halloween. It kills the franchise because it's such. Well, people I guess they're still going to keep watching these crappy movies, but it's a shame they can't make anything else that's good. And I don't believe that because there are so many creative people in the world, and nobody can come up with a better idea than that. Really. I don't believe it, but it was such overkill. There was so much violence, and then Jamie Lee Curtis doing her little pretend game of, oh, I'm going to get out of my hospital bed and lead the charge against, I guess it's Michael Myers running around in the hospital. Which, how many times has she fought Michael Myers? Did she really think that he would be running around the hospital? I mean, really?
Oh, he did it in the second one. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, that one doesn't exist anymore. Oops.
Well, there was nobody else there. You're talking about a huge crowd.
Yeah.
And he's not into crowds.
No.
He's into sneaking up on one or two people and killing them, and then you find them the next day or the next hour. And they didn't follow his, what do you call it, MO at all. And the thing is, it was a mob. And that was another thing really pissed me off. Because we saw what a mob really looks like.
Don't do that, Safi.
Well, I know that, but still, she was
that.
leading a mob. She'd just been through all this horrible. She was on the table. She could have died.
No, Safi, she climbed up out of bed, and she said something like, I don't know. She said like evil dies tonight like a million times the whole movie, and then she just picked up this random needle and she stabbed herself, and she was like, oh yeah, and then she started walking into the hallway, and then she like fell down because she's so old and helpless, and it's like, God, this is fucking pathetic. Strong woman bullshit.
Well, we talked about this because that series, Sleepy Hollow, the main character was very ill and he could die, and he had to walk back to this place to take this boy, and he could barely make it because he was just so weak. And he told her, the police girl who was with him, sheriff's deputy, he didn't think he's going to make it, and she had a medical kit with her, and she gave him an injection, and I can't remember what it was. It was something that does give you some energy, but it's not like an energy shot. I can't remember exactly. We looked it up, and I can't remember. But
Safi,
anyway,
what was the most
that's
important?
What that was supposed to be.
What is the thing they most need to fix for Halloween Ends, aka like whatever amalgamation of other sequels that they plagiarize?
Not do it at all.
Really?
I don't believe in. I'm sorry. I think it's overdone. I don't think unless they can come up, and I'm not going to come up with it for them because I don't care about it. I'd rather come up with my own original story.
Well, you don't, so.
Anyway, if they can't come up with anything better than what they've been coming up with, stop. Because it's enough.
Well, let's be honest, Safi. You know what they need to do. They need to stop dressing Laurie's granddaughter like a boy.
Oh, I don't agree with that. And stop it.
She needs to dress like a woman.
Oh, please.
And
don't listen to that bullshit.
They need to get a better costume designer, design some good costumes instead of making her look like a man.
She had a Halloween costume on. She and her boyfriend.
Looked like a man, Safi.
It was Looked
like a man.
Marco, shush up! You're being weird. I don't like it.
She looked like a man.
Okay,
Safi.
well, I don't care. I don't care about that.
That's very bad.
So anyway, those are my least favorite 10 new movies of 2021.
You know that's an agenda,
and if
Safi.
Marco. And if you have any comments about it, or you want to tell us what your top 10 or what your least favorite, how about that? Your least favorite new movie of 2021. I'm talking about one that came out last year. What's your least favorite one that you saw? Was it Home Alone? Home Alone,
well,
whatever,
Safi,
or
maybe,
Halloween Kills,
maybe,
or was it another one that's not on my list?
Yeah, maybe it was a movie that you should have put on your list, like Whammon in the Window with Amy Adams.
Well, that's probably going to be in my middle, but that thing that she wore in it for the most of the movie was the most vile,
and see, Safi,
horrible outfits I've ever seen. As a reseller of clothing, she could have spent $5. She could have spent $1 at the bins and bought a better outfit than that. Oh, God. I don't even want to think about it.
She could have painted an outfit on herself. Have you seen that where these women
Yeah, I don't like
they
that.
paint themselves? She could have done that and it would have looked better.
Whatever. It was so awful. It just made me want to vomit. And I almost couldn't look past it. I couldn't watch the movie because looking at her outfit made me sick. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. We go to the bins. Do you know what that is? It's a Goodwill bins, the last stop before things go to the landfill or they're sold abroad to a third world country. And you can buy things for $1 or less sometimes, or maybe a little quarter more, and get a bet. You can get you can even get new with tags. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. I picked out so many good things, and everything, handbags and shoes and just regular clothes and blankets and also hard goods. And she had this thing. It was like, I don't know. It was like you know what tea towels are? They're kind of like these manila cottony towels that you dry dishes with. They're like a beige colored, and they're cheap, but they're a fabric, but they're for drying the dishes. They're called tea towels.
Well,
And that's what it looked like she was wearing, a tea towel.
At least it's women's clothing and not a man's clothing.
Oh, please stop. Don't reveal yourself in your
right,
narrow-minded thinking. Pretend thinking. I don't think you better be taken seriously.
What are you talking about?
So anyway, that's it. And I don't want to talk about it anymore because it depresses me that it was very difficult. The movies last year were horrible. Well, I should say mediocre.
And Safi, why don't you add up the amount of millions it took to make all the bad movies from last year?
I don't know.
And then you can get really upset because
I'm not going to
just
do
think
that.
about
That's their problem, and they lost money.
Hundreds of millions
too
of
damn
dollars.
Bad. Well, they'll just say it was because of COVID.
No, they'll say it's because of the all of us who didn't like the agendas.
I don't know. Until we get past COVID, they'll just blame everything on COVID. And I'm sorry, it ain't all due to COVID.
It's not at all due to it because Spider-Man just made over $1 billion, so it literally has nothing to do with it.
Okay, well, yeah, because anyway, that's it, everybody. And press like if you like this. And if you want to be a subscriber, we welcome subscribers every day. And we welcome your comments. And that's it, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.